trying to find a sticker to put on the video that doesn't put like a million piles of makeup on my face. This one's alright. Coming at you from the dance studio, which is empty right now. Whoa! Class today. Second last week of term. Textiles, we did an assessment piece. So all our folders and everything are done with all of our reference information and stuff about textiles and fibers and construction and everything. So today we did a fiber identification assessment task. We set stuff on fire. So we got given like 4 different pieces of fabric, and we go through and you answer questions about them, like talk about, is it a weave, is it a knit, what type, is there any flaws in this fabric, then we do a burn test and watch the burn to see if, like, does it have black smoke, does it melt, does it have like a little crushable ash, and you kind of use like a table to figure out, oh, so that means that this is polyester, this is cotton, this smells like burning hair, it's probably silk. Once you know what it's made of, then you can ask other questions like, what is appropriate care for this fabric? Yeah, that was, took the whole class. Yeah, setting stuff on fire, fun. Obviously you can't do that when you just have like clothes. You're like, oh, what is this made of? It doesn't have a tag. Well, maybe don't set it on fire. Especially because it could be a blend, so that makes it harder. Luckily all of ours, they weren't blends, so that would have complicated the results because you would have gotten results for both types of fibers in there. Drawing and CAD class are literally just getting everything ready for portfolio submission. I'm lucky enough to be ahead in that regard because I was suddenly super productive at like 11 o'clock last night, and then I didn't go to bed till like 2. But my folder's nice and organized, so the only things I have left to do is draw and render my elements and principles design, which I've picked which one out of the 6 I'm gonna do. Sort of reorganize my folder a little bit because it's supposed to be professionally presented, not just neatly presented, so I'm gonna put like labels on each page and everything. And then I'd finished another CAD drawing today, this time drawing the same shirt that we're patterning in pattern class, which we're also going to be constructing in construction class. It's all coming together. Better get back to dance prac. Woo! This is today's silly sticker. Hearts. And a ton of mascara. Happy Friday. Welcome to the garden again. It's a garden, trust me. Big sewing day yesterday, like went all the way through to 5. Should have gone to 5:30, but I have work. So I left at 5. Almost made an entire skirt. So like laying out the fabric, tracing the like multiple layers, like a bunch of people's fabrics, tracing the pattern, cutting out the pattern, overlocking. So it's like a gathered elastic waistband gathered skirt with 2 spade pockets on the butt and a extension band at the bottom, so you could have it as like an alternate color or something if you wanted. Problem with our ones though, our group, is that our pattern pieces were from different sets. They weren't marked like that, so we got all the way up to, you know, doing all the side seams, overlocking them all, top stitching them all, and then it comes to attaching the band, and the band is too small. It's for a different size, so we have to take in the sides on the side seam of our front and back panels, and that was a bit of a mess trying to math it out. And funnily enough, when the teacher was showing us how to fix it, like a senior teacher came in and sort of saw like, oh, you're fucked up. I think our teacher was a little bit flustered yesterday. I'm sure it doesn't help, like the class is going all these different paces, so if people are ahead and they're asking, okay, what's next, and not waiting for her to demonstrate, she has to demonstrate everything like 3 or 4 times and like keep track of everyone at different paces. I think the fact that she's a new teacher comes across. It just is a bit of a struggle sometimes. We're supposed to have assessment due, but she doesn't seem to be aware of it, and we asked, we're like, so I guess we don't have assessment due. The entire folder is due next term. So next week is week 10, then we have 2 weeks of holidays, and then I'm not sure how long the next term is, until end of semester break over Christmas and everything, which is like 6 weeks, I think. wanted to use like this nice stripy, chiffony kind of fabric, but apparently the chiffon was going to be too hard to work with and it would have been too transparent. A light cotton with like a floral pattern on it, which I'll show you later. I'll try and get some clips when I get home of the stuff I worked on. When I got home, I was actually like after work and everything, for some reason at like 10 o'clock at night, 10:30, maybe 11. It's like I got home and then I had dinner and then I watched an episode of Carnival Row, which is interesting. Alternate 19th century Fae murder mystery, right? So, Fae in this setting are essentially refugees because humans have invaded their lands and forced them out, and now they're like second-class citizens. I just saw a big spider. It's in the grass. I don't want to move. Ugh. Sorry, it was a fly. I'm gonna talk about that shit later. Alright, we are where there are no spiders. Here is my massive folder of sewing stuff. She's thick and it's like only half done, so it might have to be across multiple folders. So we basically make samples of each type and we just store them in here. When we're practicing right at the start, getting used to the machine and everything, like different types of seams, stupid French seam I wish I knew about, pin stitching, so like this really fine edge stitch here, top stitching, so that's the edge, this is the top stitch, about 6 mils away. It's like the 6 mil thing is the width of the foot plus how far away the needle is from the foot, so on either side of the sewing foot it's going to be about 6 mils, that gap, which is pretty standard. That's obviously both, so you see this on jeans all the time. Double top stitch, pin stitch and normal top stitch. Intersecting seams with some different top stitching, curve seam, intersecting annoying points and trying to get that line up perfectly. The bagged out curve, where you sew the inside and then flip it out so it doesn't have anything on the edge. I've done that one. Rolled hems, so folding the fabric over twice and then top stitching it down, so the ugly bit is inside. Overlocking. Hate this one, blind hems, fucking useless. Really narrow double rolled hems, so it's easier to put a stay stitch on it first because it's so narrow, and then you stitch over the top of it again. Darts, more darts, you know, for like people aren't flat objects, so you make a flat object curved by putting a dart in it. Some pockets, still need to do some more pockets. The half done elastic casing from the incident. It's folded up the apron. My carry bag is actually in use. And then yeah, that's what we've got so far on the skirt. Oh, the bow I made. Just suddenly really motivated because I want it to match. And then I've got some fabric cut out for another one I can do at school with the nice machines. So this doesn't look like much, it just looks like a square, right? But there is a lot of work in this. Like, this is the extension band at the bottom, overlocked in nicely. The pockets, I wanted to do a purple top stitch, but I didn't have a bottom bobbin for the sewing machine. So unfortunately, it's white. So all this actually needs now that all the inside edges and everything are done is this top edge needs to be sewn down and have elastic put in it, because that'll make it more skirt shape from being this one long rectangle to being gathered at the top with the elastic, so it's actually going to be skirt-like. yeah, had this fabric for years in a drawer. So I was like, I'm not going to buy fabric for school. I already have so much fabric, even though I really want to buy fabric because it's all on sale right now. But I'll be good. So yeah, that's the skirt stuff. Now this is a look. Are committing to it. What else did we do on Friday? So the pattern making stuff. We finished our shirts already. So we were looking at some variations on fitted blouses. So where it's got darts and things on it. And variations on collars. So we've got a new block set for the fitted blouse. And then we did up some pattern plans for different collar and facing types, because they can be attached to either the fitted or the non-fitted blouse. So like a like a normal button-up shirt, and then like a turnover collar, a placket front, and a like a grown-on facing, like two-part facing. So if you wanted the inside of the shirt to be a different color, the outside of the shirt. So we did up patterns for those and added them to our collection. So yeah, we have quite the pattern collection now. Handed in our workbooks, so quality assessment workbooks, which is kind of like a little knowledge question booklet. And I was talking about things like sizing standards and quality control and that kind of thing. So yeah, nothing to hand in for that class next week. Next week we don't have class on Wednesday. It's a pupil-free day. So that means all our Wednesday classes, like the textiles class, that's going to be an online activity, and the submissions for all the drawing classes are all going to be on the Thursday. So we just bring the portfolio in on Thursday. So we've got an extra day to work on the drawings, thank God. Yeah, let's have a look at these collars. Alright, so this is the sewn on facing. So this is if you want the inside of the shirt to be a different color. So from our pattern block, we've extended the front panel in order to incorporate the buttons, because the buttons line up with the center of your body, not this seam line. The buttons line up. So you need to have this seam line extend past the center front of the body. And then we need an extension piece underneath the front panel. And we did it up in 3rd scale. So this is the bodice piece with the extension and the extension itself. Another type is what's called a grown-on extension. So it's added to the pattern. It's not a separate piece. It's like added to the pattern. So that would be this one here, where the inside of the shirt will just continue from the same outside fabric. It's not like a lining. And then it's top stitched down in place, shown by that dotted line there. So we are extending the front panel. Okay, there was some maths here. So this is the center front where our buttons are going to be. And these are smaller buttons, so we're going to extend it by the width of the button. And then we're going to need to double that on this side, because this is where our top stitching line is going to be. Now, if we're going to have fabric underneath there, we want it to be double rolled so we don't have an exposed edge. Obviously, you don't have to double roll it. You could overlock it, but that's just not going to be as nice of a finish. So we're going to double that length there, and then double it again, but take a tiny bit away. So this section is going to fold under this, so this needs to be slightly wider by 3 mil, and the whole thing is going to fold under this, so it's going to extend past this line by 3 mil. That'll be your lip edge, and that's the pattern in 3rd scale. 3rd scale patterns are great. It's sort of like, I could make doll clothes with these if I could find a 3rd scale doll, but I think that would be kind of massive. A 3rd scale doll, it's like 60 centimeter doll. This one is the placket front. So when you see on a button-up shirt, it's got like this panel on the front, and it's like on top of the fabric. So we're essentially going to make like a bias binding, like a little envelope that goes over this outer front edge. But first we go to adjust the front edge. We want to actually make it a tiny bit smaller. Otherwise the placket's going to be too wide. So we wanted to make it a tiny bit shorter. This is going to be our new center front. We've already marked out where our buttonholes are going to be. Using that button rule that I mentioned the other day. And if you imagine, this is going to be the new front, and it's going to fold all the way around this. So this is representational, right? but we're going to take this in by a couple mils. I think it was like 3 mil. So here's the modified, but this center front edge has been brought in 3 mils compared to the previous patterns. And then similar to the maths we did before with creating the fold, we have our center front, and we want 1.5 for the button size, and then obviously we're going to need to have the other side of that, but then we're going to fold in these little seam allowances as well. So if you imagine these green edges, they'll fold in first, and then this will fold in half along this edge, so and you'll sandwich it over the edge of the center front, and then top stitch down. I'm sure it makes more sense when you actually look at a real one, but that's the idea. Back to frog time. Yeah, that's kind of it for the week. I have been doing a lot of thinking about, like, you know, while we're doing all the designs, and, you know, kind of thinking, oh, where can I take this? Keeping an eye out for work placement opportunities and things. But, you know, I want to try, or at least try moving the direction of making my own brand and my own label and starting a small business. Oh my god. So I made a sign yesterday, and I put it on my note board. I want to do a collection release, even if it's only a one-off thing, but an actual collection release by the 1st of November next year. So that'll be almost the end of my course, because the course finishes in December next year. So I want to have something presentable by that point. And like my brain is full of like, what are our branding techniques? What are we gonna call the damn thing? What is our logos and our brand books and our platforms and finances and ABNs and legal, and oh my god, it's a lot, right? It's a lot. I mean, doing the research. And it's kind of exciting, I guess. Obviously, very early stages. I've got to do a lot of more research and a lot of thinking and planning, because it's a whole big project, but it's a project I want to try. And if it fails horribly by the end of next year, well, I gave it a go. I gave it a go. But yeah, that's where I'm at with that. You know, you got to think about sustainability and business planning there, which is really interesting to me, and also it's a lot. The sustainability. Upcycling is one thing that we're going to be looking at actually next week. So, you know, upcycling covers a lot of things. You can modify garments. You can break down garments in order to construct something new with the materials. Reworking, that's called. There's a cool Canadian label called Frankie, and another one, I want to say it's like Orange Studios, but I'm not sure where they're based, where they take like old factory runoff or discarded sports apparel, you know, Nike, North Face, Kathmandu, that kind of stuff, and rework that material, because it's high quality material, into new sportswear and new forms of sportswear. So you could take like a North Face jacket and make like a puffy skirt out of it, like something that label normally wouldn't make. And it comes into an interesting territory there in regards to copyright, trademarking, and fair use. So obviously you're going to be putting like a Nike label on this, but it's not a Nike product. Now in Australia, and I'm not sure how it applies to the rest of the world, but in fashion, there's kind of like nothing you can do in terms of trademarking and copyright. So if you had a print, like a pattern that you printed on a garment, you can trademark that imagery. You can trademark the art. If someone was to take your shirt with your print on it and make it into something else, like a skirt or whatever, they're not breaking the trademark on your print, because they're not reproducing the print. They're changing it into something else. So with these like Nike reworks, you're using their label, but it's kind of a weird gray area. Like if Nike wanted to, they could probably obliterate you, right? But as far as copyright and trademarking goes, like they can't really do much because it's a new garment. It has your new branding label on it, and you are not passing off the Nike imagery as your own. It's identified as a rework, right? This can go both ways as well. So if you're a small designer and you design a thing, and then a large company goes and essentially copies it but changes it ever so slightly, and I mean like it could be down to the length of stitches, it's considered a different work and it's not considered an infringement, right? So that's how you get companies like Shine and that kind of thing, like ripping off small creators wholesale and reproducing their work for cheap as hell because they've changed it ever so slightly. Like literally everyone can identify that like these two dresses are the same. They're the same pattern, the same layout and whatever, but maybe one's crocheted and one is just a machine knit. Because one's crocheted and one's a machine knit, even though everyone can tell that's a ripoff, it's technically like protected. You know? It can be really shitty. But it's also like, you know, there's no original ideas in this industry, and as much as people would like to think there is no original ideas. I guess. Which is kind of depressing when I think about it. It's like, what can I contribute to this space? Nothing I design will ever be like unique or special or different. And maybe it's not about creating like everyone's crop tops look the same, but maybe your crop top is made of a different material or sourced from somewhere of interest, or your user experience, your brand experience is different, and that's why people come and get your crop top instead of Shine's crop top, is because you have this particular experience that you're providing. And also people generally like to support small businesses, or at least I would hope so. Please support small businesses. If you want to support small businesses for Christmas this year, start now. It's like nuts out there, so start now. Start getting your Christmas presents from small businesses now. Anyway, I think that's all my thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts, and then when it comes to saying the thoughts, I'm a massive undersharer. You know? Oh well. I gotta go to work soon, so I guess I will see you next week.